Parties in the matter of Younger versus Hampton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old computer engineer Nancy Younger is suing her former friend, 26-year-old cashier Robin Hampton, for the cost of child support.
Miss Younger, the defendant's son was placed in your care by the courts.
Yes.
And you claim that pursuant to the court order, the defendant who is receiving child support for that child from the child's father, those checks were to be endorsed and payable to you while the child was in your care.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that 6 checks that the defendant received while the child was in your care were not turned over to you. That's what you're suing for.
Yes.
Defendant says you got all the money that you were supposed to. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me when and why the child was placed in your care.
The child was placed in my care in January at Miss Hampton's request.
Why were you willing to have her take care of your
My son was taken away from me in January due to child abuse. My ex-boyfriend.
So the court was going to remove the child from your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you asked the plaintiff to take him instead of having him go into foster care.
Yes, ma'am.
How much support were you getting from the child from the child's father?
It was $154 a month.
When was the child removed from your care?
August 28th.
How many checks did you receive?
Well, actually, what I had asked Miss Hampton originally how much child support he was receiving, she told me $154.44 a month. And originally, I didn't question that. I assumed that she would tell me the correct amount. What happened was, my witness here, this is the child's father, he provided for me a Department of Revenue disbursement report, and I found out he was actually receiving $154.44 every 2 weeks.
Is that right?
When I got paid, I turned him over to her.
You didn't answer my question.
Whatever I received, I'm not sure if it was every 2 weeks or every month. Because I would get a payment and then I wouldn't get a payment. Then I'd get a payment and then it'd be several weeks without payment. So I couldn't even keep up if it was every 2 weeks or every month.
The report shows that it was issued approximately, give or take a few days, every 2 months. I missed...
Every 2 months?
Every 2 weeks, I'm sorry. I missed a check, at least one check every month.
How much money did you receive in total in the 7 months that you cared for the child?
$1,081.08.
That's what you received from her?
The ones that I checked are the ones I received.
$1,081.
Yes.
It's a simple case. Hampton. Everything that was received by the Department of Revenue during the time that she had physical custody of the child belongs to her. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your answer, you received some checks in September. Is that right?
2.
That money you didn't give her. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you know, Miss Hampton, that they don't send it to you for the week that's coming up. They send it to you sometimes for a month that's passed, for 6 weeks that's passed, because it takes them time to process these things. Right? So why didn't you turn over those checks to her?
Because she had no longer had my son.
But that was for money when she did have your son.
He owes me an arrear of child support for 7.5 years.
Step up here, sir. You have a copy of your child support order?
Not with me, Your Honor.
What is the child support order?
The child support order is $154 every 2 weeks.
Is it separated as far as arrears and what is the current order?
They assess an extra $20 to make up for those arrears. In other words, I was garnished about $174 every 2 weeks on average.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Right.
Just for my own information, you owe her $772. Why was the child removed from your care?
The child was removed from my care because of a call that Ms. Hampton made to the Florida Abuse Hotline. She's made a call regarding every family that the child has ever lived with. She calls the Abuse Hotline, and subsequently the child gets moved someplace else. And basically the Inspector General report said that the child should have never been removed from my home, that he was not ever in any harm. The department was going solely based on Mrs. Hampton's statements. I have a copy of that here if you need to see it.
I'd like to see it. Where's your son now?
With his father.
This is a 72-page report that was issued by the Inspector General, and I've highlighted the pertinent parts.
I'm not going to get into this report. There are things there that, quite frankly, without reading the entire report, I would have trouble making a determination about. However, suffice it to say that your son is with you now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Child doing all right?
Much better, in fact. He's now a Navy student.
And what about his mother? Does his mother see him?
When she feels like it. We've had about 13 to 14 scheduled visitations, of where she's appeared maybe 6 times.
What kind of visitation is it?
Well, it depends. We have the stay up for 14 to 19 hours a day visits. We have the whole let's go to everyone else's house rather than home.
No, I'm talking about what kind of court-ordered visitation is there?
It's supposed to be a weekend unsupervised.
Weekend unsupervised?
Yes.
Whatever happened with the child abuse case that caused the child to be removed from your care initially? You were charged with neglect.
No, I was charged with failure to protect.
Well, that's neglect. What happened with that case?
It's still going on. The procedure's still going on. I go for reunification May 30th of this year.
Was there a trial with regard to that case? Was there a trial? You had a lawyer.
Yes.
Did a caseworker testify?
Yes.
So there was a trial. Were you found guilty of failure to protect? Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
The child was turned over to the father. And you have ongoing meetings with the social worker and the child with regard to reunification.
Right.
It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah, I know. All right. In any event, the child is with the father. You owe her $772 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 539 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas Hilaire versus Smith Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're Georgiana?
Yes.
And this is your mother?
Yes.
I'd like your mother to sit down, please. You Miss Smith?
Yes, I am.
And this is your son?
Yes.
So why don't you have a seat, because I'll bring you up later if we need your testimony. How old are you?
14.
It is your complaint through your mother that you suffered a serious back injury in school as a result of an incident involving the defendant.
Yes.
When did this happen?
September 11th.
And you were in school?
Yes.
Were you inside the school?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
My mom dropped me off. I got out of the car, went to the gated area, and I waited for my friends to get there. So my friend showed up a couple minutes later, and then he showed up.
Did you know Thomas from before?
Yes.
Were you friends?
We were socialized, but not friends.
What do you mean you socialized?
Like, just talk if we have a class together.
So you did speak to him?
Yeah.
Never had any trouble with him?
No.
Okay. So then Thomas showed up.
He was picking on another girl before he picked on me.
What do you mean he was picking on somebody?
Like, pushing her and, like, kidding her.
In a fooling around way?
Yeah. He told her that he was going to pick on her, and then she said, no, you're not. And then he said, okay, well, I'm going to pick on Georgie then.
Okay. And that didn't bother you because you knew he was fooling around.
Yes.
So when he said, I'm going to pick on Georgie, what, did he do anything?
He started hitting me
Where did he hit you?
right here and like this,
Well, I want you to tell me whether he was hitting you or just,
slapping,
was he laughing, smiling?
smiling.
And you?
I was laughing at first.
So you were laughing at first. So you knew he wasn't hurting you. It was just
Yeah.
fooling around.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
And then we were walking to first period, and he was still hitting me,
When you say he was still hitting you, how was he hitting you?
slapping me,
Where?
like on the arm and right here, like this. And we got to the building, we're inside, and I finally got the nerve to hit him back with my backpack.
Tell me how you did that.
I swung around twice, and I didn't get him the first time, but I got him the second time, I think around the below stomach area. I guess that made him mad, I don't know. And then I turned around to just get away from him, and I thought he would quit. And so I turned around to go get a drink of water.
Let's stop there for a moment. Up until that time, it was really just messing around, wasn't it?
Yes.
Up until that time, he was really messing around with you. Wasn't hurting you. You were fooling around because you certainly were with enough people so that you could have said to them, somebody help me, he's hurting me. He wasn't hurting you, right?
No.
And you didn't intend to hurt him when you swung at him with the backpack. You were messing around.
Yes.
When you swung the first time and missed, did you say anything to him or did he say anything to you?
No.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him?
Yes.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him again?
Yes.
Keep going. So then you went over to get a drink of water.
I turned facing this way, and he was like to this chair, and then he put his foot against the wall and he kneeled down. And then next I know, took off. And I thought he was just joking, he was gonna stop. And I landed on my behind, and all I remember is crying.
Just a second. Wait a second. So he pushed you
Yes.
and you fell and landed on your behind
Yes.
and you hurt your back.
Yes.
And that's what this case is all about, the injuries that you sustained as a result of falling on your backside. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to say anything?
Well, I didn't intentionally mean to push her, but I did not come down in the football position. Just when she swung her backpack, I dodged it and gave her a little touch, and she fell.
Well, you pushed her.
Yeah.
But everything else that we've talked about so far this morning, Thomas, is about accurate. You were messing around?
Yeah, for like a minute, but then I left.
You were messing around with her.
Yeah.
And then by tapping her, slapping her, whatever. But it was, nobody was angry.
No, it wasn't tapping or slapping like that.
What were you doing?
Like just talking.
You didn't put your hands on her?
No. I like put my hand on her shoulder.
Well, that's what we're talking about. You put your hand on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Didn't punch her.
No.
Didn't slap her in the face,
No, ma'am.
right?
No.
Didn't punch you.
No.
Now the mothers can stand up. So your daughter was injured.
Yes.
Tell me how she was injured.
She was transported from the school to the nearest hospital near the school. We spent about 8 hours in that hospital before we finally found out by them doing an MRI and an x-ray that she had crushed her T12. I don't know how much you know about medicals, but it takes a lot of force to crush a vertebrae in your back.
She in a brace?
After we were at that first hospital for the first 8 hours, it was decided because of her age and the seriousness of the injury that it was best for her to go to a children's hospital, which was a 45-minute drive, which she had to take by ambulance again. We arrived there at 2 o'clock in the morning. They measured her for a full-body brace that went from here to here, had a front plate and a back plate, Velcroed on the side.
And how long did she remain in that cast?
For 3 months. But, Your Honor, I also want to stress that because it happened on September 11th, the incident, she was measured for the brace the next day, but because the planes were grounded after September 11th incident in New York, the brace had to come from Michigan, so she had to lay in a hospital bed for 6 days, living on morphine because it couldn't come until a week later. Excuse me.
You okay now?
She had to, she could not be out of bed without the brace. She couldn't take a shower for 3 months. I had to sponge bathe her every day. Anytime she needed to go to the bathroom, I had to put the brace on her and help her to the restroom. Plus, I was working full-time still, taking care of my daughter with a broken back.
Anna Hilaire says classmate Thomas Gray injured her back while horsing around at school.
Don't you believe that your daughter bears any responsibility for this at all? I'm not excusing this young man's behavior and pushing her, the fact that she fell. But they were messing around. She hit him first.
No,
There's no question. Yes, she did. According to her own testimony, he was at most, I learned a word here, mushing. What's mushing? Didn't you tell me what mushing was when you sort of go like this? Right?
Nudging.
It's kind of nudging. That's what he was doing to her. And even according to her, it didn't hurt her. She was smiling, he was smiling, she was with a bunch of kids. She wasn't in danger. He hadn't hit her. She hit him with her backpack. And she swung several times with her backpack. That's not excusing what happened. I mean, he could have walked away. Probably should have walked away, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This was not an assault. This was kids fooling around on their way to class. And unfortunately, one of them got seriously injured. Were you suspended from school?
I was expelled for 2 semesters.
What about you?
I was out of school for 3 months.
Was your son arrested for assault?
No, ma'am.
Of course not, because this wasn't an assault. So what I want to know now is, what were your out-of-pocket expenses with regard to this
I have
unfortunate
copies of the
incident?
medical bills.
No, I want to know what your out-of-pocket expenses were. I assume you have insurance.
Yes.
Good. So what were your out-of-pocket expenses for her medical care, not your work loss or anything else?
I didn't calculate any of that, and I haven't paid any of the bills yet because there was a problem with the insurance.
So you don't know?
No.
So I can't tell what your medicals will be, if any. It may be that the insurance is going to cover everything. You have to know that you were partially responsible. Good. I'm glad you know that. What responsibility do you believe, if any, that you have to compensate the plaintiff for the injury she sustained?
Well, I think it was all an accident and that it could have been prevented, but I wasn't thinking at the time. Like, I apologized to her and I really regret for what I did. But if I can all take it back, I would.
You didn't mean to hurt her, did you?
No, ma'am.
How long had your son been in that school?
The beginning of September in school.
Did you just start that school?
Yes.
Your Honor, they were in school 6 days when this happened.
Okay, but was this the first year that you were in that school?
Yes, ma'am.
This is case number 507 on the calendar in the matter of Simon Copenhagen versus Gonzaga. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You were going to your prom?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is that a high school prom? When was the prom?
Prom was on June 2nd.
And according to your complaint, you hired the defendant's company, which, is it both, company belongs to both of you? You hired their limousine company to take a group of you to doing various prom activities. You're going to be ending up at the prom itself.
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, whatever limousine they sent for you turned out to be a disaster. It was late, they didn't know where they were going, as a result of which you missed your prom, and you want to be compensated. You want to be compensated for all the costs of your prom tickets, etc., and for any deposits that you gave to them. They said, well, this is really all your fault, and aside from that, you violated certain rules, you damaged the limousine, and they are counterclaiming. You made the initial call?
About 2 weeks before prom, I called them to request a 14-passenger limousine for June 2nd, Chibika Hills Prom at the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. Then I gave them the address where they were supposed to be picked up, and that was all. They didn't ask anything else, and that was it.
You told them that ultimate destination was the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center.
That's correct.
Is that where the prom was?
Prom was ended up being it's the Yorba Linda Community Center.
But they had the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. That's what you gave them. Now, come prom night, when were they supposed to pick you up?
6:30.
Did you receive any sort of a contract from them?
No.
And it is agreed that you're supposed to pick them up at 6:30.
Yes.
Did the limousine arrive there on time?
No.
Why not?
Because about 45 minutes prior to the actual pickup time, we had called and told them that we were going to be 45 minutes late because one of our previous engagements had run over. So we called them and we told them that we would give them an extra hour free on the back end of limousine service, and they agreed to that. And so.
Well, they had no choice at that point.
Well, no, but they agreed to it.
They had no choice at that point.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Just a second.
Okay.
So whether they agreed to it or not, which is something that I doubt because they're all dressed up and ready to go to the prom, and you call and say, we're going to be late because we didn't gauge our time properly, that's the wrong thing to happen. Absolutely. Now, did your driver actually get there 45 minutes late? Or did your driver get there later than 45 minutes late?
Yes, 45 minutes late.
Is that right?
Well, actually, about 6:50, no limo would show up. We never got that phone call. 6:50 rolled around. I called Rudy, or I called the limo company. I believe I spoke to Mickey or Rudy. They said, had no idea why she wasn't there. They would call her, call me back. They called back, said she was on a road that's relatively close to where we were supposed to be picked up. They said she should be there shortly. About 7:20 rolled around. She still wasn't there. So we called again. They said, okay, we will go send somebody to look for her. And they would call us back. Then it calls back, but in about 10 minutes she showed up.
So she got there at what time?
At about 7:30.
Are you the driver?
Yes, I am.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Arias.
Ms. Arias, can you tell me why you were an hour late?
We were running the limousine for other people.
Where were you going?
They got a
Where were
ceremony
the
in the.
Where were the people that were occupying your limousine? Where were they at 6:30?
They were over until almost 30 minutes, so that's why we were.
I don't understand what you're telling me.
The other company, the other people that were in the limousine, the reason we were 45 minutes late and not an hour late is because
not an hour.
The other party had, taken longer than they had originally told us. So that's why we called them.
She said you didn't call them. Who called them?
We did. Rudy did.
I did call them.
You placed a call to them, or you called them back when they said she's not there?
I placed a call to them to tell them that we were going to be late.
Who did you speak to?
I spoke to one of the mothers. I'm not sure her name, but one of the mothers answered the phone.
Well, this was a very important event. You folks were not doing the right thing at all. So whether you got there at 7:20 or 7:30, that's still an hour out of their time. Now, where were you scheduled to go at that point?
And next we're going to a major restaurant about 15-20 minutes away in Irvine.
And did you have a reservation?
Yeah, we had to change it the whole time we were calling to find out when we were going to be picked up. So we changed our reservations till 8. We left at 7:30. It's only about 15-20 minutes to get there. She got lost on the way there, got off at the wrong exit.
Oh, okay.
One of the people in our limousine actually lived in the area, so he helped direct the driver to the restaurant, and we got there eventually.
How long have you been driving?
More than a year.
How come you got lost?
I didn't get lost.
No? They said you got lost. How long did it take you to get to the restaurant?
25 minutes.
What time did you get to the
We
restaurant?
got there about 7:55 or 8 o'clock, so it was no problem.
Fine.
On the way actually to the restaurant, we saw a man in the other car in a Lincoln Continental, and he was yelling at our driver. We just thought it was somebody with road rage. Later we found out that's one of the owners who I guess went to find the driver.
Who was lost?
Yes. So I guess she said, oh no, we figured out that it was the owner because she said, no, I'm going to go talk to the owner, and there was the angry man from the freeway.
She wasn't lost. The thing is that Rudy was in the area, so he basically detried
Went
us.
to look for her.
No, he was already in the area because he had finished another run. He was already in the area. He wanted to get them to the restaurant as quickly as possible because we were already 45 minutes late to start off, so we figured the best way to do it
Their
was
reservation was at 7 at the restaurant.
7:30.
It only takes 15 to 20 minutes to get there.
You're supposed to get picked up at 6:30. So I assume your reservation was at 7.
Exactly.
You were told that they wanted you there at 6:30, and your first stop was going to be at the restaurant.
Prior to taking pictures, which takes sometimes 20 minutes to take pictures.
They wanted to take pictures.
Sure, absolutely.
In the limousine.
At the house.
At the house in front of the limousine. I mean, they don't need you to take pictures unless they want to take pictures in the limousine.
They
Rudy.
need the extra time.
They need the
We
extra
have
time.
pictures because we took them before our pickup date.
They don't need you. All the people were there already, I assume, in one location. So they don't need you in order to take pictures, unless they wanted to take pictures around the limousine.
Exactly.
That's it.
Let me explain something to you. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I've waited for a car service, and I picked up the telephone, and they say, they're on the FDR Drive, but there's traffic over the 59th Street Bridge. But the idiots don't know that I live over the 59th Street Bridge. So I look outside, and there's no traffic. They're right around the corner. I said, right around the corner, I better run downstairs. They're 3 minutes away. And 20 minutes later, they're still not there. We don't understand it. I've been there. So they wanted you there a half hour early to take pictures of all of them around the limousine, which I assume they didn't get to do as they wanted to do it because you were so late. Right?
Exactly.
So far, I see your counterclaim shrinking.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Simon and her boyfriend Eric Copenhaver are suing limousine company owners Mickey and Rudy Arzaga. Serena and Eric claim their driver picked them up late and then got lost on the way to their prom.
It is clear to me, based upon what you told me before, that you gave the defendants the wrong name of the place where the prom was to be held. Is that right?
Yes, it was Yorba Linda. We told them Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. It was at Yorba Linda Community Center, and
Are those two places close by?
the Equestrian Center doesn't exist. So I'm not sure why they started driving if they had no idea where they were taking us.
Your Honor, can
Yes.
I say something? When Rudy called, or when Serena called and made the reservation, Rudy had explicitly explained to them exactly stopped about 15 minutes at around 10 o'clock
say something, Your
to
Honor?
smoke outside of a, I don't know, a gas station or a 7-Eleven. So I don't think they were in that much of a hurry to get to the prom. And also at the very end of the prom, we got there at 11:20. The prom ended at 12. And right after they got back into the car to go home, then they started smoking again. I mean, we could take them home, but then, you know, it was their prom, so we wanted to try to be a little flexible. You know, we were 45 minutes late, so we figured, okay, well, we'll go ahead and
Show me a
give them.
signed contract that says no smoking.
What we have is our run sheet.
Show me a signed contract that says no smoking.
The only
in
thing we
limo.
have is they refused to sign anything.
That's what I'm asking you, sir. You have no
But
signed.
it was verbally...
Show me the signed contract where it says
It
no
was
smoking.
verbally mentioned to them when Rudy took the reservation. No, especially on proms, we have to say this. By law, we have to say no smoking, no drugs, no alcohol, because we could get our license pulled. And so
left
they were
alcohol
told
in the
verbally
limo.
many times.
When we got the limo, when it came to pick us up, there were still drinks and dirty cups and things in the back of the limo from the previous run.
Really?
There was alcohol in the
We
limo.
never got a contract.
Just a
We got
second.
a
There was
contract.
what kind of alcohol was in the limo?
We're not quite sure.
Just
There was
bottles.
just
I'm
the glass
not
bottles
sure.
and cups and things that are usually in there. There were sodas and things in the limo with us.
You mean dirty soda cups?
Some
Like
of the
dirty
cups
glasses,
were
like
dirty.
napkins used and stuff.
Why didn't you clean the limo, madam?
That's not true.
I believe it.
The lemon was clean.
When did you stop to clean the limo?
At the restaurant.
Shh. When did you stop to clean the limo?
When I went to pick up them, before I clean up everything in the lemon. We never
Before,
pick up
just a
some.
second. Before you went to pick them up, so you were 45 minutes late, and you're telling me you stopped to clean up the limo before you went to get them?
That's why she was 45 minutes late. She was cleaning the
In
vehicle.
addition,
Rudy,
Well,
Rudy.
that's why she's late.
Rudy,
Yes.
don't be foolish. Your limo, according to you, arrived 45 minutes late. Their prom lasted until midnight. They wanted to be there at 10:30. You didn't get them there until 11:20. You don't get paid. Period.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Period. And they were smoking. They stopped for 15 minutes. If you're telling me, you said in your answer, they stopped for 15 minutes to smoke outside. Well, if they were smoking outside and they were smoking inside the limousine, there was a lot of smoking. Why would they smoke outside the limousine if they were violating the rules of
Because
smoking
they had to buy
inside?
some more
She was
cigarettes
getting a
because they ran
Thomas
out.
Guide.
What?
She was purchasing a Thomas Guide from
They ran
the
out of
7-Eleven.
cigarettes.
They ran out of
Just a second.
cigarettes.
Just a second. Did you purchase a Thomas Guide? Madam, do you understand what I'm saying? Did you purchase a map?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
You don't
There's a little
understand the
hard
word map? You see what your problem is? That's part of your problem. Your driver was unable to communicate with the passengers. Please, just pay attention. There are certain tools in the trade. If you are a driver, then you know the word map. I'm not asking her about a colonoscopy. I'm saying the word map. Do you understand? Put your hand down. Driver understands the word map. I said it very, very clearly. What did you do?
Can
What?
I say something?
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I pick them, when they get out from the restaurant, I ask them for the address. if they have a map. And they said, no, we don't have map. And then I asked them for the address, and they said...
They don't get to go to the prom with a map.
No, Your Honor. Your Honor.
You get out of a restaurant, you get into the car. The driver of the car says, I don't know where we're going from here. So the 10 people that are in the back of the car says, listen, does anybody have the address? No. Let's see if we can call Mom. Maybe Mom has the address.
They never...
Maybe...
Sorry.
But that's not what happened, because when they came out of the restaurant, Rudy had already given her the address.
The incorrect address.
It was the address you got.
From 411.
From 411.
So you mean they should be suing information?
No.
No.
Give me a break.
We're saying
Give me a break. The only issue that I have really in this case is you arrived late on a prom night. They missed half of their prom, and you have to suffer for that. And if you book them close, and once in a while you lose, like you did in this case, because your driver wasn't there on time, you have to be able to suck it up. That's all. And we shouldn't be in court because you have a business. And if you have a business, you shouldn't want to expose your business. To me, that is a very foolish thing, because they only have one prom. You got a lot of limousine nights. Now, you're suing for...
Your Honor, could I say one more thing?
No. $469, those are your damages.
It's
for prom
actually
expenses.
$461, because I found out the boutonniere wasn't as much as I thought we got the receipt.
And you want your tux rental, your corsage, and your prom ticket back. Is that right?
That's correct.
We actually got there at 11:45.
And the prom, we missed the entire prom because
We just got there just to see what we missed and
they
take
closed
pictures.
the doors at 10:30 and
Exactly what we would need in order to get them to their prom, which was an address. Well, when the driver got there, asked for the address, they did not have one. When we got to the restaurant, we asked again. They still did not have one. So Rudy, going out of his way to be nice, because it's their prom night, had decided, okay, well, I'm going to call 411, just give me the name of the place. They had told Rudy, Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. So Rudy called 411, and we all know that a lot of times 411 doesn't give the correct address. Well, they gave us an address, but it wasn't the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center because there is no Yorba Linda Equestrian Center.
So Rudy got, just a second, so Rudy got the wrong address.
Yes.
Next.
Then what I did is I got a hold of what's called a bid or an invitation that 5 couples received, and they were supposed to provide us.
Well, just a second. As a result of Rudy getting the wrong address, did he give that address to the driver? Rudy?
Yes.
You gave that address to the driver. You said, I'll take care of it and I'll give the address to the driver. So she takes the address and she starts driving.
Right.
Based upon instructions from you. And you're driving around for a long time? Madam?
Yes, I did.
Well, there were a couple things that happened between the time they left the restaurant and got to the prom, because a couple things that were happening throughout is that they were smoking, which they weren't supposed to, because they knew that there were fines involved, but they continued to disobey,
smoking in
our
the
policy. Smoking in the limousine. Right after they got in the limousine, right after the restaurant,
and don't let anybody else in. And we arrived at 11:45 with 15 minutes left in prom, and
They don't stop you when you come there at 11:45 because everyone's starting to go outside where you're not supposed to go during prom. We got there at 11:20. They wouldn't have let us in. Got there at 11:45 because who goes to prom?
Where did you go after the prom?
we went straight home.
Went straight home. We got lost on the way.
We went home. They tried to give us the contract once we got back home that we were supposed to get at the very beginning of the night and have us sign that, and we all refused.
We're not going to sign when we're like almost in tears.
We basically wasted an entire night.
So basically, they don't provide us with an address, which we don't know how to get to a location unless we have an address.
You're the professionals.
We asked them for an address. How do we know where to go?
You are the professionals, sir. You don't, you keep wanting to get abused. You are the professionals. You're dealing with a bunch of high school kids who told you this is the address of the restaurant that we're going. Hey, this is the address of the restaurant that we're going to.
And we got there because they gave us an address.
An hour late.
But we got there.
An hour late.
Because we had someone who lived in our line.
An hour late. And then your driver, who should have said to you before the run, I don't have the second place where we're supposed to go. I have a feeling she doesn't know whether she's a foot or horseback. She starts going where Rudy told her to go. In any event, she gets there 15 minutes before the prom is over. You've, in effect, ruined their evening, and you're going to pay him $647. And as far as smoking in your limousine is concerned, suck it up.
Judge Judy, you may step out. Yeah, this is case number 592.